This is Smutty Side Up. In each episode, we deep dive into a popular or not so popular book in the romance world and all the subgenres that encompasses.
We look at everything from the tropes and characters to weird euphemisms for genitalia and tell you whether we think it's worth a read.
We're not here to kink shame or yuck anyone's yum. These are just our opinions, and sometimes we even disagree with ourselves.
Content warning. This is an explicit podcast. If you are easily offended or have modest sensibilities, please listen at your own discretion. If you are my father, brother, father-in-law, brother-in-law, identify as a father to me, or have ever called me like a sister to you, please turn this off immediately.
So sit back, light a candle, and let's metaphorically practice time on this week's book. I'm Alexis.
And I'm Ricky. Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. I'm sick, but I'm good. Welcome home.
Thank you. Weirdly, it was much warmer in the mountains, so I am now bundled up in my coziest hoodie. But yeah, I was skiing. Skiing.
You actually missed some of the colder days.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I dipped to like negative 20 something at some point while you were away. Today it was a beautiful negative 10.
Yeah, my driveway got snowed on, and I was not here to clear it.
Oh, God.
And now it's very icy, and I didn't do it today. I was working, and I was like, nope, I don't have it in me to go and ship the 2 inches of ice off the driveway, so it's just not happening.
Yeah, I actually slipped on black ice today. It was my first slip of the winter. I didn't fall. I caught myself. But I dropped Grayson off at daycare and was walking back to the car, and I slipped, and I, did that weird dance move that you do when you're like mid-fall but trying to save yourself, and I think I like pulled my back.
Oh no.
But I did not fall. I did not embarrass myself too badly.
I caught a dude who fell today.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, I didn't catch him in time. I just got there after he
Okay.
No, I was walking where my little one goes to gymnastics. It's right by my chiropractor, so I drop her and then I just walk over.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was walking, this older guy was getting into his truck and just hit black ice, and he fell so hard and slammed his head on the running board of his truck. And so he's getting up, and I'm running over, being like, please stay down. Are you okay? Do you have someone with you? Can someone watch your, can someone check in on you?
Can someone else drive?
Oh my God.
I get nervous. The way my car is parked on our driveway, we're right up against the grass, but there's rocks before the grass. And when it snows and it melts and creates ice, it makes those rocks super smooth ice. And Grayson loves to try to get into the car by himself. And you're just walking on ice to get to that side of the car. It's just all ice. Every day I envision him just slipping and falling flat on his head, and it drives me nuts, but he won't let me help him, so.
Maybe he should wear a helmet. It's winter helmet season.
I'm trying to tell him how fun it is to get into the car from the other side and climb across.
How's that going? How's that sales pitch working?
Sometimes it works.
Amazing.
On good days it works.
Okay, we're not going to harp on this because I think we have a big episode today, but I was going to say, I love skiing. I love skiing for many reasons. One is that I'm kind of a bougie person. We're just going to own that. And skiing is basically surrounded by, incredible amounts of bougie. So, but you don't have to dress up. So you can go to a very fancy restaurant in snow pants and a hat and, a sweaty mess. And nobody judges you. They just, bring you a martini. And, you
and your martinis.
I know. I like a good gin martini, I'm going to say.
Oh, sorry. I just have to interrupt you quickly. I also just want to clarify, I was re-listening to one of the episodes where you were talking about how you taught our friend's daughter at 18 how to make a martini. For any listeners, that happened in Montreal where the legal drinking age is 18. When I listened to it, I was like, oh God, we never actually said that, which makes it sound real bad. So anyway, there you go.
You're very good to me because I just was I guess people are going to think something. I don't
know. Just in case.
Just in case. Anyways, but the other thing is, you know me, I'm an anxious person, and I have a hard time getting out of my head. When you are going down a very steep mountain and there are a bunch of bumps and trees in front of you, you can't really be in your head.
Yeah.
And we had one of the weird fate moments with my sister, which I don't know if we've ever talked about. We have this weird magic thing.
Oh, I don't think we have.
I was living in Hawaii when my nephew was born. And my sister was in labor, and I knew that was happening. It was like 4 a.m. where I was. I'm pacing around, and my phone rings, and it's her phone. And all I can hear is the doctor being like, okay, you've got this, just a couple more pushes. And I hear him, born. Like,
but she didn't call you?
She didn't call me. Later, like, when I finally talked to her, I was like, thank you so much, or thank Eden for calling me so I could hear that. She's like, what are you talking about? Her phone had been sitting on the windowsill. Nobody was near it. Nobody touched it. And she could see the outgoing call. Like, it was real.
What?
Her phone called me, and I listened to my nephew be born.
I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So this one wasn't quite as good, but I forgot my phone on our last day.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, guys, you can't lose me, because there's no way for me to be like, this is where I am, come find me. And we were going, and we started this run, and then she kind of dipped into some glades. And so I followed her. And then 2 turns later, I couldn't see her anymore. I was like, she was gone.
Of course.
And I looked around, and I was like, okay, well, I think there's an open run, like, to the right. And so I just start trying to make my way out. And I just am getting deeper into the woods with more moguls. And now I have no idea where I am, no bearings.
Oh, my God.
So I just found the chairlift and, like, skied under the chairlift through the woods and the moguls to get down. And I was like, okay, well, this is it. Like, I'll see them at lunch. I know what time we're meeting. So I'm just going to go off and ski. So I went up the chairlift, and I almost went down one run, and I was like, it's a little chilly. Like, I'm going to go over here. And so I went to a different side of the mountain. Went down, skied a run, came up a chairlift, and I went over to the trail map just to see where I was going to go next. And all of a sudden, she comes bombing up and, like, hugs me from behind. So they had also, like, come up, assuming we wouldn't find each other till lunch, and just happened to come off to go pee and started going towards, and she saw me at the trail map.
That's amazing. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
there's definitely, like, some, like, you know, connective force between siblings and stuff like that. Like, I love it. That's great. I'm so glad you had a good time.
Yeah, we've decided you must come next time.
Sure, I'd love to.
It's also a Ricky vacation because, like, there's an activity, there's good food, like, there's, like, all the things.
Works for me. Is there a spa? It has to have all 3.
We did the spot on the last day.
There you go. Perfect.
Because I thought my legs were gonna die.
Yeah.
In a long time since I was on a mountain.
I was gonna say I need to even go down a couple runs. It's been a long time, but yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy. I'm glad you're home. I missed you.
Yeah.
Grayson saw the picture of you on the top of a mountain. He was very excited.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right. You ready to jump in?
Let's dive in.
Okay, a couple things right off the top. I'm sick. I'm so sorry to our listeners, but mostly to you, because the editing you're going to have to do on this, I'm not envious. I'm so sorry. Number 2, this is going to be a long one. This book nearly killed me. Sorry, not the book. Writing this nearly killed me. It took me 2.5 to 3 days just to figure out how I was going to approach this. And I'm not convinced I did a really good job. So, you know, ask as many questions as you need to.
Okay.
Take notes if you feel that that's easier. I don't know. It's very confusing. It jumps all over the place. I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to the fact that I'm sick, and it's been a whirlwind. Also, to our listeners, I say like way too much. I'm sorry.
Me too.
I want to say that I'm going to work on it. It's unlikely. But just know that I heard it too, and I don't like it either. Okay, yeah, this is going to be a long one. We better get in.
Let's dive in.
Okay, today we are talking about Haunting Adeline, written by H.D. Carlton. Have you read this book?
Yay! Okay, so I have not read this book.
Okay.
I own this book.
Okay.
And the part 2.
Yep.
They are sitting on my very scary TBR. So this beautiful aestheticness of everything I've read, there is absolutely a hidden shelf down in the corner that is all the books that I physically own that I haven't read yet. And I want to start it. Like, I'm interested in it. It seems really good. Every time I go look at them, they're big, girthy, physical books.
Yeah.
And because there's 2 of them, I get intimidated, especially given that I've only in the last month learned how to, like, not finish a book in one sitting.
Okay, I didn't read the second one, or at least not yet. I'm not sure that I'm going to. We'll get a little more into that too. Do you have the book with you somewhere?
Yeah.
Can you grab it?
Let me go get it.
So I'm going to read my little blurb, and then I'm going to tell you why I wanted you to pull that. So, Haunting Adeline. Okay, also, I read the whole thing being Haunting Adeline. And then I listened to the audiobook the other day, and they pronounce it Adeline. So now my brain is doing that Control F, Control R to like replace in my head. It's not working. It's going to go back and forth. So, Haunting Adeline, written by H.D. Carlton. It's the first book of the Cat and Mouse duet series, which includes book 2, which is Hunting Adeline, and Adeline, and a prequel called Satan's Affair. This book that I'm talking about is only Haunting Adeline, and it is layered like an onion. We have present-day Adeline dealing with her stalker while she's living in her grandmother's manor. At the same time, she's trying to piece together the murder of her great-grandmother that took place in that same manor. We get snippets of Adeline's great-grandmother's life through her diary, and passages from the diary are like sprinkled throughout the book, but it's not always at the end of a chapter or like in a spot where she's reading from the diary. It's kind of just placed. And because it's a duet, each chapter alternates point of views between the male main character and the female main character. That is lovely for a reader or a listener, but for writing out basically a book report, it makes it very challenging. Initially, this book was banned from Amazon. Did you know that?
No.
So it was banned from Amazon due to the trigger warnings that are presented at the beginning of the book. Now, I don't 100% know what that means, because this book was published a while ago. I should actually know the date, but I don't, so hang on. Oh no, it was first published in 2021.
Okay.
I thought it was older than it is. Okay. I only read it in 2024, listened to it in 2025. I also read my books digitally for the most part, so my version of it has been updated a bunch of times. It's not the same as having like a printed copy that was published at some point and then they reprint new ones. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what the original content warning page was, but I did find the second one. I'm going to read you that content warning page.
Okay.
This content warning page is not included this way in the digital book. So I want you to open yours and tell me if you have a page that says important note.
I do.
Okay, I'm going to read it out loud. None of these conspiracies derive from a belief in anti-Semitism or QAnon, but from my own demented imagination, common conspiracies in the media, and many occult horror movies my dad used to watch growing up. This book ends on a cliffhanger. The contents are very dark, with triggering situations such as non/dubious consent between the main characters, graphic violence, human trafficking, stalking, child trafficking, child sacrifice, mentions of child death, and explicit sexual situations. There are also particular kinks such as gunplay, somnophilia, bondage, and degradation. This book was previously taken down due to the warning, but you can also find them in reviews on my website, or feel free to message me directly. Your mental health matters. It's the same. Okay. That's okay. I was kind of hoping you would have the first generation of it.
No.
Because I cannot find that. I can't find photos of it or anything anywhere. I know that there were references to the author doesn't want to sugarcoat real world events and things that are currently taking place. Whatever. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole after reading that. Because when I was reading the book, I felt like I was finding things that weren't really there.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. So I felt while I was reading it that there were weird QAnon parallels. Right. But like, why would an author write a book with QAnon parallels? So like, I ignored it. I have a habit of looking for things like that, so this wasn't like new to me. But I did Google it after, and it turns out that I am not off my rocker. This was a big thing. It's all over Reddit. It's all over the internet. This book includes a blood libel storyline, which really stuck out to me even while I was reading it. But there's no mention of religion at any point in this book.
Okay.
So again, I tried to kind of just tell myself that I'm like imagining things, which is very possible. Apparently, H.D. Carlton made a post on her Instagram and TikTok explaining that all of these parallels were entirely unintentional. She said she is absolutely not anti-Semitic, and that the book was going to be re-edited and re-released without the blood libel storyline.
Okay.
That was like 2 years ago that she made that post.
Yeah, can you explain what is blood libel?
So the blood libel is a false anti-Semitic conspiracy or accusation that Jews were murdering Christians to use and drink their blood for religious rituals. It's also the historical precursor to like the satanic panic belief.
Okay.
When everyone thought that people were doing satanic rituals, all of it traces back to anti-Semitism and Jewish blood libel. So that's what that is, I guess. Yeah, I should have set that up off the top. In this book, she claimed that she was going to edit it and re-release it, and that was 2 years ago that she made the post, although I have not been able to find the post because she has deleted it. But I read this book in 2024, and I listened to it in 2025, and there is absolutely still a blood libel storyline. So I don't know how I feel about that. I don't have a clue if H.D. Carlton is anti-Semitic or a QAnon follower. I do believe that an author could have come up with this storyline without realizing, what exactly they were putting to paper. Mm-hmm. The only thing I really find weird is why you would post an apology and post that you're going to take steps to rectify something, and then not action on it at all. And then to remove it is kind of a bit of a question mark as well.
The copy I have feels like it is self-published. Is there a publisher of record?
No, it might have been. Hang on. Yeah, I think it is self-published.
Yeah, so the only theory I have, having a small tentative, toe into the publishing world through the children's activity book that I co-authored, is, when you print a book, if you're doing it with a publisher, they do a batch run. And so a publisher wouldn't do a reprint with an edit until they've sold through everything they've got, right? Because it's just money.
Even if it's something controversial like that?
I think it depends on how controversial and how, how much.
Again, I'm not making an accusation. I did research on this very specific thing, but I didn't research her as a whole, as a person. It's very possible that it was totally unintentional, and I'm sure a lot of people don't actually know that even the satanic rituals that were described in the 80s and 90s and satanic panic, most people don't know that traces back to anti-Semitic roots.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh, so there you go. I don't think that many people would be super offended to find a satanic ritual in a book like this, which is why I didn't really give it more than a passing thought, and only because I am Jewish, I know about this stuff. It wasn't until I started looking into the QAnon side of things online that a lot of people were talking about both. And again, the only thing that bugs me is why would you make a post saying, A, making it very clear that you are not anti-Semitic and you're not a QAnon follower, and B, posting that you are going to take action to change it because of the response you're getting, but then not do any of that and delete the post.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's very weird.
It was weird. Anyway, we can move on from that now. All right, tropes. We got a stalker romance. This is a dark romance. We have a possessive male main character. We have a touch her and die scenario. Those are the ones I came up with.
I like it.
I'm sure there are a million more. I just got so overwhelmed by this, so we're sticking with those.
Got it.
Cover art. I'm going to send you the cover art. Oh, yeah, you have it right in front of you. Okay, go ahead and describe it.
So
I forgot that I did that.
This beefy motherfucker is very, very dark just in color palette. There's a gray skull wearing a crown or a tiara. There are spider webs, there's butterflies in black and white, and then there are some red roses. Font is very old-fashioned serif-y, and it's been given kind of a metallic treatment. And yeah. This is part of why I got overwhelmed, because on the spine it literally says one, as in one of two. And so knowing that and knowing that it ended on a cliffhanger, what I was going to have to read in one sitting when I started it really...
in one sitting. The audiobook is 15 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really big book. It's the writing is there are parts of it that are extremely well written, and there are parts of it that are just not. But stylistically, there's a lot of details, a lot of graphic and flowery descriptions of things, which I really like. I find that like brings me into a story more. So I did enjoy the writing, but then there's parts of it where I'm like, oh, grammatically not as great. So if that bugs you.
I mean, it definitely...
It's not as bad as like the 50 Shades of Grey situation was when I was finding typos in the book. But there are some points where I'm like, you needed a comma, or like, that's the wrong word for this situation.
That's so interesting. My English lit snob brain used to have issues with the Bronte sisters for a very similar thing. I don't need 7 pages explaining the path. I'm like, I like a good description. I mean, he had his own issues and was a bit of a misogynist, but like Hemingway, he was very, he explained everything. There was a detail, but he got it done in like 3 sentences. I need that. I'd like the detail, but I'd like it to move more quickly, please.
Can I tell you, you and I both are very specific on what we like in terms of a writing style. The one thing I know about you that differs from me in terms of what we like grammatically is that you love an Oxford comma.
Oh my God, yes.
I hate an Oxford comma.
It breaks my brain, Ricky. I know. I need the...
When I write things to you, yes, I put in the Oxford comma, just for you.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. When we were working together, I put it in everything, even though I absolutely hated it, because I was like, if Alexis reads this, she's going to tell me to put it in anyway, so I might as well just skip that step.
Oh my God, I was such a tyrant. You're like, I'm preemptively
It's the only thing I knew about you from like a grammatical standpoint. I think one time I had you edit something and you were like, oh, you missed a comma there, and immediately I clocked it. And I was like, oh, she's an Oxford comma gal.
Yeah. I really am.
All right.
Just proudly owning it.
No, there's nothing to be, don't be ashamed. It's all good. Okay, character descriptions. I'm going to give you the character descriptions. I do not have quotes. I do not have photos. We don't have time for that. So, we got Adeline Riley, a.k.a. the manipulator, a.k.a. Little Mouse. 26-year-old. She is a successful author who recently moved into her grandmother's home, Parsons Manor, following her grandmother's death. She is 5'7" with light brown eyes and cinnamon-colored hair. Then we have Zaid, a.k.a. Z, a.k.a. the Shadow, a.k.a. Kitty Cat. He is a 32-year-old vigilante and hacker and the CEO of Z. He is 6'6" with black hair, heterochromia with one dark brown, almost black eye, and one like ice blue, almost white, and a scar that slashes from his forehead right down through the discolored eye to the middle of his cheek. He has a jawline so sharp he could cut diamonds with it, a straight, aristocratic nose, full lips, he has a muscular build, and his body is covered in tattoos. Okay. We're going to dive right into the summary.
Let's go.
Stay with me. All right. I've said this. I think this will be the 3rd time I'm mentioning this. Adeline, a successful young author, has decided to move into her grandmother's estate, Parsons Manor, which was left to her after her grandmother passed away. I think that is the only thing we all understand now. We know where she lives. She's on the phone with her mother, who firmly believes that the manor should be torn down. And at some point in the conversation, her mother calls her grandmother worthless, so Adeline just hangs up on her, which is a very, very Ricky move. I like that. I hang up on people if I don't want to talk to you. Later at a book signing with her assistant, Adeline explains that she hates these events and is always uneasy at them. This time she feels as though someone's watching her, so she scans the crowd and her eyes land on a man with 2 different colored eyes and a large scar going down his face. She looks down to sign a book, and when she looks up, he's gone. After the book signing, Adeline meets with her best friend Daya, who insists that Adeline needs to have sex. Daya takes Adeline's phone and texts sexually explicit messages to Grayson, spelled with an E, Adeline's former sexual partner. Grayson with an E responds that he will be over later. Later on, Grayson with an E tries to initiate something with Adeline, but she's just not feeling it, and suddenly there's a loud knock at the door. Adeline checks, but there's no one there. Grayson with an E still wants to fuck, but Adeline doesn't. Not that she ever really did. So Grayson with an E storms out. And on his way, he punches a hole in her wall.
Gotcha. Is this where we point out that you have to say Grayson with an E because your son is Grayson with an A?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Grayson with an E in this book was also just such a douchey character that I was just like, I cannot have my son associated with such an asshole. Also, another sidebar, at one point in one of our previous episodes, I said that I had read a book with a main character whose name is Nash and that I closed the book. I did not. I actually read the book. And I know that because I went through a list of like what I should do next and I was like, oh, that was a really good book. And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, I actually read this book and it was in my top 10 of last year.
You just disassociated.
Absolutely. Because I read it when Nash was firstborn. So his name wasn't like fully associated with him yet in my head. Mm-hmm. Having reread like one chapter to see if I could get through it again, it was way harder now. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here we get our first entry from Gigi's diary. So her great-grandmother, Gigi. It was dated April 4th, 1944, in which Gigi notes that a man is stalking her. She doesn't plan to tell her husband, John, and she also notes that she is both afraid and intrigued. We cut to the Shadow, a.k.a. Zaid, and he is torturing a man for information. The man, who is unnamed, says that a man named Josh runs the warehouse, and he implies that the warehouse is a base of operations for trafficking girls. The Shadow calls him a child rapist before killing him. This is our first mention of that content warning. When he's done, the Shadow just goes out to get a burger, but he stops when he sees Adeline's picture advertising her book signing. He goes to the signing and finds a spot near the back to stare at her. He is immediately in awe of Adeline, and he claims that he is instantly obsessed with her. He thinks about kidnapping her, but decides just to leave instead. Which I think is interesting that he could just flip that switch and be like, nah, I'm not going to kidnap her, I'm just going to go.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he has some self-control. I feel like we have a long book, so maybe not a lot of self-control, but...
Yeah, he's not great with it. Now we flip back to Adeline. She takes a look at the hole that Grayson with an E punched in her wall, and in it she finds a safe containing her great-grandmother's diaries. Adeline falls asleep reading Gigi's diaries and wakes up to a loud bang on her door. As she walks through the house, she sees a red rose, and the rose had its thorns removed. And it's laying on her kitchen counter. She's searching her house for clues as to who was there, but she doesn't find anything. The only place left to search is the attic, but she's not ready to do that because the attic was her grandmother's favorite place in the house, and she spent a lot of time up there. And she's still grieving her grandmother's passing, so she doesn't go up to the attic. The next day, Adeline and her best friend Daya are chatting, and Adeline tells her all about Grayson with an E, the hole that he punched in her wall, and the rose, but she doesn't tell her that she found her great-grandmother's diaries. Daya works as an activist. She is a hacker, and she hacks into databases to collect government secrets.
Okay.
So keep that in mind. We get another diary entry. This entry notes that John, so Gigi's husband, left for work, and Serafina, who's her daughter and Adeline's grandmother, has left for school. Gigi's stalker enters the house. He caresses Gigi, and that's a quote because I don't know what that means, then leaves, and Gigi is confident that he will return. No words were spoken. Weird interaction, but he came and went. Daya comes to the manor to help Adeline clean it out and clear out some of her grandmother's stuff. Adeline once again finds another rose, and this time she tells Daya what's been happening. And Daya insists that Adeline come stay with her, but Adeline doesn't back down, and she says she'll be fine, so she stays in her home. We get another diary entry explaining that Gigi has started offering her stalker sexual favors in exchange for him speaking, but he still doesn't. He refuses to talk. Her husband, John, is getting more suspicious of her behavior.
Okay.
We jump 3 weeks. Adeline is standing by the cliffs next to her home, and a construction worker comes to tell her that they're done for the day. And before leaving, he lets her know that someone dropped off a bouquet of roses for her. She finds a note attached to the roses that says, "I'll see you soon," and for the first time he uses the nickname that he has for her, which is Little Mouse. Okay. It's around this time that Adeline starts to believe that her great-grandmother was maybe killed by her stalker, and she's getting nervous about parallels that she's seeing in her own life compared to her great-grandmother's life. Another diary update. Gigi's stalker has finally spoken to her and told her that his name is Ronaldo, and he told her that he loves her, and they kiss. Passionately.
Okay. I mean,
now we cut back to the shadow.
She was offering,
she was so into it.
She was offering sexual favors to hear his voice a while ago, so...
Yeah. The diary passages were also written in, like, more flowery, like, old-timey words. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but, so, like, the sexual favors was, like, hilarious for me to read. Because it wasn't as, like, this book is extremely graphic when it comes to the smut, but they didn't put that kind of smut in, like, great-grandmother's diary entries. So, it was weird. It was like she was being modest by all comparisons. Okay, so we cut to the shadow, also known as Z. So his colleagues know him as Z. He's standing outside of a warehouse getting ready to raid the building by himself to save the kidnapped children that are being held there for sex trafficking. This is what he does. While making his way through the building, he has his friend and coworker Jay in his ear, giving him the lay of the land and unlocking any doors that he comes to. It's here that we learn that Z, or the Shadow, was a hacker exposing government secrets before he started this underground organization that finds and rescues kidnapped children and sex trafficking victims. Z kills all the men that he finds, except for the leader, and he saves all the girls.
Okay.
We're gonna get a lot of juxtaposition between what Z does for a living and what Z does to Adeline. Or for fun.
Okay.
Back at Parsons Manor, Dia convinces Adeline to go out dancing, and while they're at the club, Adeline starts flirting with a guy named Arch. Any comments on the name Arch?
I mean, we've discussed it. These books have weird names. I don't know any archers, but it feels like a very, like, upper class, East Coasty, like, you expect him to be, like, the third.
I'm trying to figure out, was his name Archer?
I mean, that's the only I've only ever heard Arch as, like, a short form of Archer.
Archibald.
There we go. Yeah.
Even more.
So much more.
Even more.
Yes. He definitely has played polo at least once.
Oh, yeah. Archibald introduces her to his brother Connor, a guy named Max, and a set of twins, Luke and Landon. I only mention this part because I've commented that there are more twins in romance book world than in the real world, and I stand by it. Also, oh my god, I spilled water on my computer like 2 months ago, and my keyboard is so fucked. Like, every once in a while, I'll like type something, and it'll just decide that every letter I typed should be typed twice.
Oh no.
So my notes are just red squiggly lines everywhere because I don't have time to go back and fix it. So it's taking me a bit to figure out what I even wrote half the time. All right. While chatting with the guys, Z texts Adeline telling her that he will cut off Arch's hands if he touches her. She briefly hesitates but decides not to let her stalker dictate her life, and she brings Arch home with her anyway.
Okay.
We get another update. Yeah, we get another diary update. Gigi describes how Ronaldo comes right after Serafina goes to school. He undresses Gigi and teases her, but he never stays or goes further than caressing her.
Okay.
Adeline and Arch start fucking in her sunroom overlooking Cliff's Edge when they are interrupted by a knock at the door. Arch takes his gun out and goes to investigate. Adeline starts to freak out, not knowing that he had a gun in the first place and wondering why he had it at all.
I was going to say, why? Why is there just a gun?
Yeah, I don't know. When she doesn't hear anything, she goes to check outside and she finds a rose covered in blood, but no human beings to be found.
Okay.
Not the night she expected.
No.
But okay, we cut to the Shadow. He did not like seeing Arch and Adeline together, so he knocked on the door. He grabbed Arch as soon as Arch opened the door, and then he stabbed him and knocked him unconscious before bringing him back to his base of operations. Z straps Arch to a table, and on the floor next to that table is the boss man from the warehouse. Before Z killed him, he gave up the head honcho's name and location.
Okay.
So he did get the information he was looking for. And now there's a dead man on the floor next to Arch. We learn that Arch's family is an organized crime, and when he comes to, he initially believes that is why he was taken. Z explains that he does not give two shits about the fact that his family is an organized crime. And then he tortures him and ultimately kills Arch, noting that he will also have to kill Arch's family to avoid any retaliatory moves.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thoughts? Anything?
Well, I mean, I had so much hope for Z. They were really setting him up, he's a hacker, but he's saving, young women being sex trafficked. But, I mean, he's now also just killing randos. Yeah, he turns out to be a bad guy, but he didn't know that. Didn't really care.
Did not care.
No.
Did not care. He did know that before he took
knew.
him, but he didn't care. Yeah, he knew.
Do you think if
Z knows everything.
Do you think if Arch had been like a public attorney, he would have changed what he did?
No.
No.
Not even a little.
No.
Yeah.
So here is my thing. Like, we're going to find more nuance in these characters. But right off the bat, I don't know about the term morally gray. Like, this guy may be morally gray, but for me, I am okay with morally gray when it is like, he's a good person, but he will do bad things to protect the woman he loves.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, when he's doing bad things because he wants to, or to that woman, it loses its appeal to me.
I agree. So other things that he does in the book fall along that line of like an okay, morally gray anti-hero.
Yeah.
This one in particular, I don't love. Specifically for what you just said. We get more details when you're reading about this in the book, like about Arch. He's not a good guy. We already know that. He's an organized crime. He's also a rapist. He abused his ex-wife. Like, there's a lot more that we learn that I think it's the author's attempt at making you not care about the fact that Z is about to kill him for no real reason. It didn't land for me. I still cared. I still didn't like it. Because ultimately he is killing him because Adeline took him home. And
genuinely, all that would have had to happen is, like, she invited him home, they started hooking up, he wanted to do something she didn't want to, and she asked him to stop, and he didn't. And then I would have been fine with his death. Like, I know that's such a weird, arbitrary thing, but, like...
No, it's not. It's not, because there is a line in this book at that point where it says, like, he was planning to hurt her. But it doesn't... He might have been, like, planning to hurt her in a way that, like, sometimes women like pain with pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't explicitly go into, like, what... Like, was he planning to kill her? Was he planning to actually rape her? Like, what was the... Because she was willing and able. Like, it wasn't going to be a rape thing. So, anyway, that part, it didn't land. The morally gray part didn't land for me here. Okay. It's now a beautiful Sunday, and Adeline goes to check the mail and finds 2 severed hands and a note in her mailbox. The note reads, "While I will enjoy punishing you every time you call the police, let's hold off this time. Wouldn't want to have to hurt them next. Little Mouse."
Cool. Love a good morning threat with my dismembered body parts.
Yeah. So, this brings up the fact that she has in the past called the police. She had made reports about having a stalker. Reports have been filed, but it seems like every time she makes a report, it's like new information.
Yeah. Because her... ... That's because it is. Because every time she makes a report, he hacks in and deletes the report. I was going to say, because her stalker's a hacker who is removing the files as soon as they're in.
Yes. So she doesn't know that. It's getting very frustrating for her. She's in that situation where she's like, what's the point in reporting it if nobody's going to do anything about it? Or if every time I do, nobody's actually saving the file. So she's in that in-between phase where she's just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Daya comes over to Parsons Manor and confirms that Arch's whole family is dead and the police have no leads. Daya and Adeline try to look further into her great-grandmother's case and determine that they either need to identify Ronaldo or they need to find the pages of her diary that have been ripped out. That night, Adeline wakes up to noises in her house, and when she hears the front door open and close, she looks out of her bedroom window and she sees Z turn back and smile at her as he walks away from the house.
Can I ask a clarifying question? Is this, did Adeline read all of the diaries and now we're just getting them entry by entry? Or is she reading them slowly as we go? Do we know?
That's a really interesting question.
They know there are pages torn out. So I'm assuming they've looked for as much information as they can. And we're just, as the reader, getting it.
That's a really interesting question. I don't know if that's made entirely clear. Because that would be a really slow... Like, if you'd be curious about your great-grandmother's murder, you wouldn't read it page by page, one page per day.
Yeah, especially
like,
now
you read them pretty quickly.
We need to identify him. They know there's nothing that identifies him in the diaries, and that there are pages ripped out. So my assumption is that they've read them all, and we just, as the reader, are getting bits of this information to build the suspense, but...
Yeah, that's how it feels. That's more of what it feels like, yeah. Keep in mind as well, like... Adeline knew about her great-grandmother's murder before she found the diaries. Like, it's not a secret, everyone knew, but it was just never solved, and the case went cold. So, yeah, that's interesting. I feel like it's read more as, like, she knew about it, but we're getting bits and pieces. Yeah, that's interesting. I think that also comes down to it being maybe, like, a self-published novel, whereas like that's something that a publisher would maybe clock and be like, what is happening here? Are you reading it along with the main character, or is this because it's not really talked about, or like it's not made super clear?
Flashbacks to Verity being like, how slow are we reading this fucking novel? Like,
yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting because I did pick up on it in Verity, and I did not pick up on it here. I think the reason is because in Verity, the female main character was the one reading the manuscript to you. Like, you knew that she was reading it. She would say she was reading it. And in this book, it's not written that way. It's literally just a page that actually looks more like a diary page. You can open your book and kind of flip through it. Because I'm basing it off of the digital one.
Yeah, so, like, there's actual...
Yeah, so it's, like, aged and, like, made to look like a diary page. And it's just kind of thrown in wherever it needs to be. So, like, it does give you context to what's happening next in the book, but it's not, like, in a very specific manner.
Something else that makes me feel dumb for not having opened this book. There's a lot of space. Like, it's not a dense words to per page situation.
No.
I'm going to...
How many pages is that book? That looks massive.
So it's 583.
That's a lot. But it does. But it's not like a... It looks like it's got more spacing between the lines than the average novel does.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of, like, art, and the individual lines are, like... I mean, it looks double-spaced. I mean, it makes a lot more sense now, because I was very confused, because I did look up the audiobook runtime of this. When I was deep in the middle of my book for next week.
Yeah.
Which is only a little under 600 pages, but runs almost 9 hours longer.
Because I said 15 and you said, what, 24? Yeah, that's crazy.
24.
Yeah, so that, that tells you that it's not written super dense in this book.
Well, and there's those, the diary pages, they break up.
Yeah, more pages, and there's images, like there's a lot of imagery on yours. Mine has the diary pages, because the digital copy, it has the diary pages, but it doesn't have the, like, I know I saw, like, the first page of the chapter was more of, like, an image with some writing. It doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have that. Okay. We get another diary update. Gigi points out that Ronaldo was hurt when she saw him, like, physically hurt. The two have sex, and Gigi is ashamed, but she does not regret it.
Okay.
When Adeline is investigating Gigi's journals, she hears a thump and goes to see what's up, and she spots Z on her lawn. She charges out of the house to confront him, and he just licks his lips and walks away. Yeah.
Okay.
3 days later, he shows up on her lawn again. She sees him through her window, and in an effort to piss him off or make him jealous, she turns her head and pretends to speak to someone who's, like, out of sight from the window. Z checks his phone, and after 15 minutes, he leaves. You see, Adeline had security cameras installed all over her manor. But what she didn't know was that she had hired Z's company to install them, and now he has access to her cameras. So he checked to make sure that no one was in the house with her. Again, like, are you trying to get someone killed? Don't pretend someone's there. Also, just, never have someone over again.
His last reaction was, I'm going to murder him and chop off his hands. And then
he did.
I'm going to kill his whole family.
Yeah, well, he's like, I'm also not going to go down for this. I got to kill everyone.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I love that I'm blaming her. That's... wow. Way to victim blame.
Yeah, I mean, she should have picked better stalkers.
Honestly, I don't have an answer for her, too, because I'm like, then call the cops. And it's like, well, she has. I'm so sorry, Adeline. This is not your fault.
I mean, go to the attic? That's the only thing I can think. Maybe go to the attic?
I don't think that's going to help her all that much. Okay. After another of her book signings, she finds her house full of roses, and there's a used whiskey glass on her counter. She calls the police to investigate, and she ends up spending the night at Daya's house. While she's there, she receives a text from Z asking if she liked the flowers. I find that so creepy.
Yeah. I'm assuming if we were seeing his perspective or knew what he was thinking, you would have been sharing at this point. Are we going back and forth? Are we hearing from him?
For the most part. I did have to cut out a lot because it's too much. But
gotcha.
He acknowledges that he's a stalker, and he's like, she will fall in love with me. But
what's he getting out of being in her house and drinking a whiskey and leaving?
Loves the chase. This entire book, it's called The Cat and Mouse Duets. He loves being the one chasing her. He loves when she's scared. He loves being the one to put her in that position. That's it. That's the whole thing. He loves it. He loves having the power. He loves pointing out that he has the power.
Okay.
Yeah. He's psycho. All right.
I didn't know this. Ricky just tapped her temple. Really, that's the signal. Yeah.
Listen, that's a signal for a lot of things.
Yes.
I mean, he's 6'6". He's tall, he's hot, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, apparently. Do you know that theory? Is he tall or is he hot?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I love that theory.
Yeah. Okay. We got another diary update. Woohoo! Gigi admits that she is enjoying her affair with Ronaldo. John is suspicious, but not too suspicious. But Gigi worries that he will definitely get there soon. She notes that John makes her feel like a servant, while Ronaldo makes her feel special and feminine. We cut back to Z. Z shows up at his headquarters and is shown a new video from Jay. So this is a content warning, trigger warning moment. The video shows four men performing some kind of sacrificial ritual on a teenage boy. This is the blood libel that I was talking about. They're killing him, marking themselves with his blood, and then drinking it. The descriptions of these videos in the books are very detailed and absolutely heartbreaking. This is not the first video like this that Z has seen, and he suspects that they are all prominent and influential people in that video that are part of some kind of ring. Later, Z is in Parsons Manor. He rewatches the video on repeat in Adeline's kitchen while she sleeps upstairs. Z remembers that he moved to Seattle specifically to end the trafficking ring involved in this ritual, and he's grateful that he met Adeline as a result, but he needs to focus. There's a lot of mention of the manor being haunted and feeling like other presence in the home. At one point, Adeline says she thinks she saw Gigi's ghost walk into the attic, so this time Adeline follows her. She confronts the ghost and asks her to show Adeline what she needs. And just then, a board falls, showing 2 notes. The first note is a confession about trying to cover up Gigi's murder, but that is unsigned. The second is the missing page from Gigi's diary, and it read, "I have to be quick. He says he's on his way, and I'm terrified. If I run, he'll catch me, so I'm writing this note down in hopes someone will find it. If something happens to me, John, it was..." She's cut off. Frustrated that the page wasn't complete and it didn't give her a name, Adeline left the attic and spotted Z on her lawn again. Z and Adeline start exchanging texts. Adeline threatens to call the police, and Z says that he will punish her if she does. She calls them anyway and tells them about her stalker, but chooses not to show them the text messages. Later at Daya's house, Adeline tells her that her stalker has been texting her, and though Daya tries, she is unable to trace the texts back to a specific person or location. Daya tells Adeline that Luke, one of Arch's friends from the bar, has been asking her about Arch and Adeline, and though she thinks she did a pretty good job convincing him that they weren't involved in the murder of Arch and his family, they are at least a little bit nervous. Like, it's at least on their minds that somebody is asking questions. We got another diary update. Gigi and Ronaldo had an argument the other day, and now she's in a bad mood. John's friend Frank had come by the house and tried to cheer her up, but Gigi's torn between leaving John for Ronaldo or staying put. Back home, Adeline receives a text from Z asking if she's ready for her punishment. She grabs a knife and goes searching for him, finds him on her balcony. He is standing there smiling and holding a knife. He walks directly up to her, grabs her knife, letting it cut him before throwing it aside, and then they play a game of cat and mouse. And I am going to read you a passage from the book. "Are you here to kill me?" I ask slowly, trying my best to mask the tremors racking through my body. I'm failing. Slowly he shakes his head. "Why would I do that?" I'm not sure how to answer that. He continues. "I wouldn't kill you, little mouse. I want to keep you." "What if I don't want you to?" He smiles. "You will." I open my mouth, ready to tell him about himself and his mama. And the words die on my tongue when he reaches up a hand and swipes his thumb roughly across my bottom lip. He growls in delight. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to allow you the opportunity to run and hide. If I find you, then I will deliver your punishment. If I don't, you go unpunished and I will leave." I pinch my eyes shut, a small single strand of hope threading through the hysteria. I know this house like the back of my hand. I know where the good hiding spots are. There are 2 bedrooms down there in the hallway on the bottom floor. The first bedroom has a tiny little nook in the back of the closet, just barely able to fit my body in. But I used to hide there all the time when Nana and I would play hide and seek. "Fine," I whisper. "How long will you search for me before I win?" He smiles. "I'll give you 5 minutes before your ass is bent over my knee." So this is the game. She runs and hides. He obviously finds her. She tries to get away. He obviously wins. There's a trend in these books.
Also, he has cameras, access to every camera in her house.
Yes.
It's not exactly a, difficult game.
No, it's funny. I never thought of that. I thought he just knew the house. He's cheating. Oh, that totally ruins it. It's so much better if he just, knew the layout of the house. Shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, he may know the house, but he also could have just turned on his phone and been like, "Oh, there she is."
That sucks.
Hiding in that board.
That sucks. Oh, man, that ruined it for me. Also, I feel really dumb now. It's okay. Okay. She starts to cry. He admits that he likes when she's scared. He has her pushed up against a wall where she tries to fight his advances, and it feels like they're each building off of each other's aggression until he has her lying on her back with himself on top of her, and he pulls out a gun. This shuts her up real fast. This moment is broken up by another diary entry. This is what I mean when they are just thrown about. This was not a place for a diary entry. Gigi notes that her and John have grown apart, and she feels bad that she broke his heart. However, she feels that she's mending herself, and she's glad that Serafina can keep them together. Frank is revealed to be a police officer in this note, which is useful information for sure. Back to the fucked up stuff, and trigger warning here, this is very messed up. It is a smut scene involving a firearm, so listen at your own discretion or hit that 30-second forward button. Adeline is convinced that he's going to kill her, despite the fact that he has said multiple times that he isn't. He demands that she take off her clothes and starts running the barrel of the gun up and down her body. She is super pissed at herself because she is so fucking wet and he knows it. But then he tells her to suck the barrel of the gun, and shit just gets super weird. Once she does that, he uses the gun barrel on her clit, and then he starts fucking her with it. At first, she is terrified and frozen in fear, which, yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, the pleasure somehow overtakes her, and right before she's about to come, he asks her what she's learned. So she says not to bite your cheek, in reference to the fact that she had bit his cheek when he was, like, trying to, like, get things started, and he started to bleed. To accentuate his point that was not the correct answer, he cocks the gun.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Reading this, I was sweating. Obviously I knew she would survive, but this is not hot. Like, I was so, like, could not have been drier. This was not what I was looking for. It was,
You were the Sahara.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Truly. My anxiety for her in this moment, oh yeah, I felt so bad. I was so scared. You know nothing bad's gonna happen. Obviously, we've got this fucking ginormous book to get through, plus a second. Could you imagine if he accidentally did kill her, though, and then the whole rest of the book and the second one are actually not about her at all?
I mean, that would actually be super, super interesting.
Would be weird. Her name is in the title of both of them. Anyway, okay, so he cocks the gun. She quickly responds with the correct answer, now, obviously, which is not to let another man touch her. He gives her 10 seconds to come. Once she's done, he licks the gun clean, slips it back into the back of his pants, and leaves without another word.
Okay.
Is it?
I don't know. I feel unsettled.
Same. And let me tell you, reading it a second time, listening to it, didn't make me feel any better.
Okay.
Yeah. That's also their first sexual interaction.
Yeah.
I can tell you from reading the reviews, you lost a lot of people with that one. A lot. Yeah. A lot. I feel like a lot of them would have maybe hung on if that was like the second or third interaction, but the first one was not involving a firearm in somebody's vagina.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of people were not having any of that, which makes me question myself just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, don't question yourself. We listen and we don't judge.
Okay.
At least we say that, yeah. But then our faces.
I judge a lot.
Yeah. I will give him, here's my one redeeming thing. Based on the way you've been setting him up as a character and his need for power, I would have assumed it would have been like, I think he's going to edge her, or he was going to take his pleasure and leave her unsatisfied. Like, given the power dynamic that he's been setting up, that was what I was preparing myself for. So, at least he's a giver, even if he's a sadist.
Yeah, there is, like, mention of edging, and, like, he starts to edge her at some point, but throughout all of it, that's not really his goal. Like, he doesn't want to edge her and then, like, not let her finish.
Yeah.
Because, like, that's not his end game. He really does want her to fall in love with him. Okay. I don't think a gun was the appropriate instrument for that.
No.
I would not have fallen in love with him, but does Adeline? We will find out.
Also, all I can think is, like, they give you very explicit warnings to, like, wash your dildos before and after with, like, a pH balance situation. And I was like, what kind of bacteria is in that woman's vagina now? Like, what is happening?
I can't even wrap my head around that. Also, I don't know anything about guns. I'm just going to put that out there. No guns in my family. I've shot a gun one time at a gun range, and it hurt my shoulder, so I don't think I'll be doing it again. But aren't there, like, notches on the top of a gun barrel? Like, it's not, like, just a cylinder.
Yes, but like, people also, get piercings all over their dick. Texture is not the biggest concern.
I don't know how sharp those notches are, though. I'm not talking, like, people don't like, some bumpy shit, but, like, certain things are designed to go in and certain things are not. A gun is not.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, like, flat at the end.
Yeah. And open.
Yeah, no,
like, it's an open hole. Also, the bullet that comes out of that next.
Yeah. Also,
gonna be
this
gross.
guy who, like, definitely kills people.
Yeah.
So there's probably, like, brain matter in that gun.
Oh,
like,
God, gross. Oh,
no. How is it you brought a book about fucking someone with a gun and I've grossed you out?
Because I was thinking about her DNA being all over the gun now, and that, like, the next bullet was going to be covered in her cum. I wasn't thinking about what was already in the gun. Also, he likes to torture people. I don't know, although he did shoot people in the head. Yeah. Okay, well, you've given me a lot to think about. Thank you. She needs to go to a doctor, basically, and get on a round of amoxicillin. Because, just to be sure.
And a backup, like, tetanus shot.
Tetanus shot would be great. Yeah, absolutely. Wow, okay.
Okay, so what does our little Ellen do after she's been fucked by a gun?
Well, she is ashamed over what just happened, but she decides not to tell Daya, naturally. Daya can tell something's up, though, because she's not an idiot. She decides not to push it, and instead they continue focusing on the investigation into Gigi's murder. Daya has found some info on Ronaldo, and it turns out he was involved in organized crime in the 1940s. They are interrupted by Max, Arch's friend from the bar, who basically interrogates Adeline, but she doesn't give him any new information, and both women insist that they know nothing and were not involved in Arch's or his family's death. Here's the thing that gets me about this storyline. Everyone seems really focused on this random girl that Arch met and went home with that one time at the bar. I know that he disappeared that night, and I know that his family was killed that night. But he's in organized crime.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shouldn't there be a bunch of other suspects?
Yeah, she would not even make my list. In my books, I would think, okay, he went home with some hot girl, fucked her, went home, somebody was tailing him on the way home, and he was targeted.
Yeah.
Or somebody saw him at the bar, followed him to this girl's house, and then when he was leaving, kidnapped him.
Yeah.
Now that's two people that have come up and asked these two random girls if they had anything to do with this guy's murder and his family's murder, when, how do they even know where these girls are? You met them one time.
It's not the same friends?
No, the first one was Luke.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, those are such generic white boy names that I just painted them as the same person who I met immediately.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah.
So weird.
Very weird.
I mean, they're not wrong, but, it is weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would obviously assume that it was a target. I would never assume that the random hottie from the bar was the girl that somehow got him killed. Anyway, okay. We get another update on the diary. Gigi wrote about her night with John and Frank. John drank too much and accused her of cheating, and though Gigi denied it, it seemed that Frank believed John, and Frank stormed out. Back to Z and Adeline. Adeline? I'm going to read a quote. Her tantalizing, creamy skin is on full display, and I get hints of her red cotton panties anytime she bends over. Like when she pulls her covers back and pounds her tiny fists into the pillows to fluff it up. I get a full view of her ass when she slides her feet out of her slippers and then bends down to arrange them neatly before her nightstand. My cock hardens, her perfectly round ass overflowing her underwear. Her pussy is on full display, just a thin piece of fabric separating her from my tongue. I close my eyes and work to regain control. I have to be quiet. She doesn't know I'm hiding in her closet, waiting for her to fall asleep so I can stare at her beauty in peace.
Okay. I mean, dude, you literally have cameras. Why are you in the closet?
Why are you in the closet?
Why
are you in the closet? Also, that quote that I just read you, it came out of nowhere in my script because shock value. It came out of nowhere in the book, too. That's, how the chapter opens. I was like, okay. Yeah. Cool. That's what nightmares are made of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Once she's asleep, Z leaves a red rose on her nightstand and leaves the manor. As he's leaving, he gets a phone call from Jay letting him know that the 4 senators from the disgusting sacrifice video are in Seattle, so Z makes a plan to infiltrate their organization. Z and Adeline text the next day, and he comments on how beautiful she is while she's sleeping. She responds with, "You'll look pretty after I stab you." They go back and forth, not necessarily in a banter kind of way, but even though she's saying all the right things, one would say when they're feeling scared and vulnerable, she isn't following through on any of them. So she isn't actually calling the cops when she says she's going to call the cops. Z ends it with, I'll see you tonight, and she texts back with, from outside my house, and preferably in a cop's handcuffs. She starts getting herself off to the texts, and he calls her out for it. She lies and says that she isn't, and as I'm reading this now, I'm like, oh yeah, he has cameras. I just thought he knew. He knows she's lying. She tells him to fuck off, and he says, next time you tell me to fuck off, your clit is going between my teeth. She knows she shouldn't, but she responds again with fuck off. Then she chases that text message with 2 fingers of scotch because of the fear and adrenaline, and she knows exactly what she just did.
All right. So, I mean, he's not wrong. He's gonna make her... He picked the right target. I don't know how you can tell from a photo on a billboard that someone is gonna be into the same kinky shit as you, but, like, good radar.
I have no idea. And it's not like... I mean, again, I don't know what the statistics are of, like, how many out of 100 women are into this. Because if it's, like, 90, then, okay, his odds are pretty fucking good. But if it's, like, 2...
I don't think it's 90.
Well, I wasn't saying it was 90. I was saying if it was 90.
It's true. But still...
It's 98, and you and I are the only 2 that apparently aren't.
Everyone else is fucking guns, and it's fine, and they just don't talk about it.
98 out of 100. No, but I'm just saying, like, it really depends on his odds. I don't know. And also, I don't know if she was into the gun fucking. It really wasn't clear. Like, she was very ashamed, obviously, but she's still, like,
But that's finished. The only sexual contact they have, and now she's getting herself off to text messages with him and threatening him. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Is he hot or is he tall? I don't know.
She didn't hate it.
Is she into him or is he tall? Is he a smooth talker or is he tall? I don't know. Yeah.
By the way, you know who bucks that trend? Shaquille O'Neal. I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but like, no. And he's very tall.
He's really tall. He's really fucking tall. I love that. I love that theory, though.
My niece is, like, weirdly obsessed with him.
With Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, weird. Love Shaquille O'Neal. She got Shaquille O'Neal gummies at Christmas, and we were eating his face.
What?
I have no answers. I don't know why.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I think I follow him on Instagram or something. He used to post some funny shit. Okay, so she knows exactly what she just did with the fuck off message. Yeah. And instead of not sending that message, she chooses to send it and then just get drunk. Because...
As you do.
I can't even imagine the adrenaline rush that comes after sending that message.
Yeah.
I think I would just put up a for sale sign and move. He would find me, but, like, maybe not right away. I don't know. Okay.
And she's just like, better take some anesthetic because things are about to get a little chompy.
Yeah, put some numbing cream on her clit. That would really fuck with him. But again, he has cameras. See, this is all ruined by the cameras.
Yeah.
Because in a world where the cameras don't exist, that would be really funny. If she just, like, put EMLA cream.
Well, she probably didn't put, like... She didn't put security cameras in her own bathroom.
That's a valid argument.
Some limitations to the cameras.
You're absolutely right, unless he somehow, like, snuck in and put cameras elsewhere.
I mean, he sneaks in all the time and hangs out in her closet, so
I feel like
anything is possible.
I feel like this might have actually been in the book somewhere, but this book was just so much that I, like, didn't pick up all of the information. Anyway, readers, if you decide to read this book, let us know, because now we're just making up our own storylines. That night, she wakes up in the middle of the night, tied to her bed, with duct tape across her mouth, and a dark figure between her legs. He goes down on her, but refuses to let her come until she acknowledges that she knows what will happen each time she disobeys him. Adeline is both happy and absolutely livid.
Fascinating. I know this is a long book, and we should not sidebar.
No, we can sidebar.
I am not a good sleeper. We've discussed this. I do not understand how it happens that someone can enter your room, hold your body, tie you up without you waking up. I don't understand.
I don't think somebody can enter my street without me waking up. Like, if a car turns onto my street, I know that it happened. I'm up. There's no way. I wake up to Nash crying before he actually cries. Like, I can feel it before it actually happens.
Yeah.
No way. I don't know if Eli would wake up, though. He sleeps nice and deep.
I don't know. I mean, I've maybe once had someone, like a tiny human in the middle of the night, come into my room, and I didn't wake up until they were in my room, but I woke up before they touched me.
That's fair. I am a terrible sleeper, you know that. So bad that I had to do a sleep study. And I actually had the best sleep ever at the sleep study, which never happens. Because you're attached to like 40 different wires and they're all over your face and head and hands and whatever. But my typical like cycle of sleep is that I have like a month of really, really moderate and bad sleep. And then I have one night that just fucking knocks me out. So much so that like I sleep through my alarm the next morning. Happens, maybe it's every 2 months even. The last time it happened, I did wake up to Eli shaking my leg. Because he was like, what? Like, it's 7:30. Like, both kids are up and eating breakfast. Like, where are you? What's going on here? So I guess if he gets me on that one day, it might work. But I don't think you could tie me up. Also, I think I'm a mouth breather when I sleep. The second you put duct tape over my mouth, I'm going to die. Like, I don't see myself surviving that.
Yeah. But it happens more than often than not that people wake up and they're like strung up, and I was like, unless you knock me unconscious.
But some of the books where that happens, they're drugged.
Yeah. Drugs, physically been like concussed, knocked unconscious. Yeah. I understand that. The idea of I went to sleep peacefully and now I woke up trussed to my bed.
No, absolutely not. I wake myself up while I'm sleeping. If my right leg touches my left leg, I wake up. Like, there's no way. Okay, I'm with you on that, though. She's not happy about it. Would you be happy about it?
To wake up being tied up?
Yeah.
No, but I think the second I got fucked by a gun, I probably would have bought a plane ticket. Like, I think I would have extracted myself from the situation a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I would have taken bigger steps to get out of it.
Yeah. I wouldn't have, like, taunted him by a text message.
No. Okay. We get another diary entry. Gigi notes that John has been drinking more frequently, leading to him yelling at Serafina, and Gigi fears that he might become violent. She runs off with Ronaldo whenever she can, and she feels guilty that she might not want to save her marriage anymore, even for her daughter's benefit. Z is in his car thinking about what he did to Adeline the night before. He doesn't love what he did without consent, but he also believes that she knew what she was doing when she sent him that text, and he viewed it more as a game in which her texting responses were her way of giving her consent. Which is a really interesting way to look at that when you're the one who did the bad thing.
Yeah, this is dubious consent is not, I think, the way that we would label this. Like,
I agree. It's one thing if, like, you are in a relationship and this is what you guys do. And you both know that if you're playing that game of texting and, you know, sort of feeding off each other.
Non-consent, yeah.
Yeah, but both of you know about that.
Yeah.
This, you are now taking her texts as potential consent, but she doesn't see her texts as consent at all, meaning they weren't.
No. For consent to be given, like, there needs to be some conversation. You can't assume implied consent.
Assuming consent is a terrible idea. Never do that.
Yeah.
So, he's trying to justify what he did. At least from this, we see that he acknowledges that what he did was probably wrong. He very quickly tries to deflect that, but he does put A and B together.
Interesting that it's when he ties her up and not when
he fucks her with a gun. Yeah. I don't, like, I wanted that scene to end with him at least saying that there was no bullet in the gun.
Yes. Like, you were safe the whole time. I love you. I want to protect you.
Yeah. No. I was so scared. So scared. For a character that doesn't exist. Okay. As he's having this conversation with himself, Jay calls and tells him that the 4 senators are going to Satan's Affair, which is a Halloween event that Daya and Adeline had been planning to go to together. Z plans to go there to infiltrate the group, and that's when he notices Adeline's name on the roster of people who have already bought their tickets. So we knew that they were planning to go. He just found out. 2 days later, Z texts Adeline saying he can still taste her. And instead of playing into his games, she responds asking if he knew about her great-grandmother being murdered by her stalker. So she has officially convinced herself that Ronaldo is Gigi's murderer. Z had actually already read Gigi's diaries, which is not shocking because he's a stalker and a weirdo. But he was not convinced that Ronaldo was the murderer, even though Adeline believes he was. Adeline says she's going to find the proof because all stalkers are crazy murderers, and instead of texting back, Z decides to call her. In this conversation, they talk about Arch and Adeline. Adeline tells him about Max coming to confront her. Z says he will take care of Max and not to worry about it. Adeline starts to retort that if she ends up dead, because he has pissed off the wrong people, it will be his fault, and, he cuts her off. And he says, "Let me stop you there, baby, because you seem to forget that I had a gun in your pussy not too long ago. Did you think teaching you how to act right is the only lesson I'm teaching with that?" She quiets. "If you think low-life criminals are scarier than me, then I haven't been clear enough, have I? Next time you place them above me, I'll be sending their heads to your doorstep."
Okay. So, just straight up threats now.
Tons of threats. Again, we get that thing of, he'll take care of Max. Is he just going to kill Max? Is that, every time he says, "I'll take care of it," does that mean another person's going to die? We don't really know. If I were Adeline, I would probably stop arguing with him, though, because it seems futile.
Yeah, it doesn't seem helpful, at the very least.
No. Z goes to the club where Daya and Adeline met Arch, Max, and friends, and he makes his way into the VIP room, where he finds Max fucking a waitress on the couch, while the twins are also engaged in sex acts with 2 other waitresses. For a book that is very explicit, there was absolutely no description of what the twins were doing. Not even a hint. Just sex acts with 2 other women.
Interesting.
It was very shocking. Z tells the girls to leave and never speak of this again. He then threatens the men and tells them that if they ever approach Adeline and Daya again, he will kill them and their families, and he lets them live. Which was shocking.
Yeah.
From there, Z goes to another nightclub called Pearl. This one is an illegal underground nightclub where the waitresses all appear to be drugged and are being groped by men, just constantly. He walks up to the table of men playing poker. One of them is Mark Williams, one of the 4 senators from the video that he saw. And he asks who's winning, which leads to some banter that ends up with the men inviting him to play. Little do these men know, Z's father was a professional poker player, and he's been playing since he was a kid. He introduced himself as Zach Fortnite and created a whole online life to back up his new identity in case anyone Googles him. How do we feel about the name Zach Fortnite?
Well, I mean, Fortnite is played by 13-year-olds named Zach, so maybe?
That works.
I don't know.
Zach Fortnite.
Was Fortnite a game when this book was... I feel like it was.
Yes, this was 2021.
And nobody Absolutely. Was like, Fortnite? Really?
I mean, the other question is, was this book, proofread? Or, did you give this to someone before you published?
Yeah.
This book gives a lot of insight into the workings of somebody's mind.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically this author's mind. I don't know why I worded it that way. That was weird. But, I don't know if I wrote a book like this with a scene where somebody gets fucked by the barrel of a gun, I don't think I would hand it to Eli and be like, "Hey, can you proofread this for me?" Before I send it off to my editor or my publisher, I would save that for Tiger King's Cross.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I would be the editor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'd say that thing you said before. Yep. And then you'd say the thing that you said before, where we listen and we don't judge while very much judging.
Yeah. I know. I have a problem with my face.
Me too. Okay, so he is officially Zach Fortnite, and Zach Fortnite has a whole online identity. in case somebody Googles him. While he's at the table, one of the men starts to sexually assault a waitress, and Z creates a distraction. He grabs her and leads her out to a waiting vehicle for her to get out of there. Before she leaves, he asks her for one thing. She thinks he's asking her to never tell anyone who he is or what he looks like, but instead he says, "All I ask is that you do something meaningful with your life." And off she goes to safety. Okay. We get a diary update. See, it's stuff like that. When he says stuff like that, it's like there is a side to him that is admirable.
Yeah.
But, like, what the fuck is with the other side?
Well, I was going to say, he's like a 20-sided die. One side is admirable, but 19 are not great.
Yes. Okay, I was going to say, like, it's not a 50-50 split, but that was a way better analogy. Okay. We get a diary update. Gigi is preparing for a 4th of July celebration, but John is drunk and yelling at her and Serafina. He breaks a glass on the wall, which is his first sign of aggression. Gigi notes that Frank is coming over to help, and she hopes that Frank will be able to distract John while she entertains their family and guests. Adeline finally confesses to Daya what had happened between her and Zaid, but only the second hookup, not the gun hookup, while Daya is over at her house.
Okay.
I agree. I would not confess that either. If I waited that long...
Yeah.
Between the time it happened and the time I decided to confess, I just wouldn't.
I mean, he came in, he tied me up. You get the gist of what's happening. You don't need to be like, also I kept this big thing from you for a while.
Yeah. It's not even that I would be embarrassed that it happened. It's that I know the question is, why did you wait so long to say something?
Yeah.
And that's an answer I'm not willing to figure out the answer to that question.
No, I also think it attracts way more questions. Because to be like, wait, so you're saying you had an orgasm while there's a gun inside you?
Yes.
Whereas, like, the rest of it, you're like, okay, I understand. Let's move on.
Yeah, or like, so he fucked you with a gun, and then there was still a chance for him to sneak into your home and tie you up? Like, no steps were taken between those two things?
Yeah.
Okay. Unless she lied and was like, I did everything I possibly could, and he got in anyway. All right. Daya is livid that Z broke in and asks Adeline if whatever happened was consensual. This part of the book is explicitly written to explain the consensual non-consent aspect of their relationship, in my opinion. Like, I think this was very strategic. All right, here's the quote. "Bitch, what the fuck?" she shouts. She leans in closer, an unreadable emotion flaring in her eyes. Was it consensual? And this is where I get tripped up, because it wasn't. But had he kept going, had he stripped his clothes from his body and fucked me, I can't say with absolute certainty that I would have stopped him. Or that I would have wanted to. Still, I shake my head no. Fury flares in her sage eyes, and her lips twist into a snarl. I lean back, honestly a little afraid of her. I put my hand on hers. Daya, it wasn't consensual at first, I say. The last part, a little like a question. Embarrassed that I'm even admitting something like that. She blinks. At first, she echoes. Meaning what? He was that good that he changed her mind? My hands cover my face, but she forces them away, nearly bumping her nose into mine as she intently waits for an answer. You have such pretty eyes, I tell her. Okay, so I feel like that whole part was just written to explain the consensual non-consent.
Yeah, to give him like a pass so we can continue on
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
like she wasn't going to stop him. She did want it, she just didn't want to admit that she wanted it.
Yeah. Okay, well.
Again, like, don't love it.
No.
After a little more confessing, the two of them get back to investigating Gigi's murder. Daya has found a picture of Ronaldo in the 1940s, and in the picture he has a black eye, and he's standing with members of an organized crime family. The two of them decide to go out for drinks, and they get pretty fucking wasted. They're both literally crawling through Adeline's front door to keep themselves firmly planted to the ground as the world spins around them. There was tequila involved. Adeline gets Daya to the guest bedroom and then makes her way to her bedroom where she flops onto her bed fully clothed with her jeans on and just passes out. Hours later, she wakes to Z caressing her face. Through witty banter, she calls him Kitty Cat in response to him calling her Little Mouse. He does not like the nickname, and he makes that abundantly clear. She makes comments about how he must have a tiny dick, and he takes this opportunity to prove her wrong. But since she's drunk, he doesn't want her to throw up on his dick, so instead he jacks off with his dick up against her cheek. And now we have our dry read.
Okay.
It's long. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's okay. It's good. I mean, if she's gonna vomit, whether his dick is in her mouth or near her mouth doesn't feel like enough of a distinction.
I mean, I guess he was like, I don't know if you have a gag reflex, and I don't want to find out right now.
Yeah?
I don't know.
Okay.
What's my name? He growls. Kit. He briefly let go of his dick to deliver a sharp slap to my cheek. It stings, but it wasn't enough to actually hurt me. I snarl, Zaid. He sucks in a sharp breath. Open your mouth, little mouse, now. When I refuse, he slaps his dick across my face again, this time harder. I'm getting tired of him slapping me. Rage burns hotter, and I'm tempted to reach over and bite the tip of his dick until it's severed completely. You really want to test me now? He challenges, cocking that damn brow and breathing heavily. Desire shines in his yin-yang pools. Although he's punishing me, he's staring down at me like I'm a priceless jewel. With reluctance, I open my mouth, hatred spewing from my eyes. He flashes a sinister smile before he says, now thank me. I go rigid, fury spiking hot. He wants me to do what? Fucking thank me for letting you swallow all my cum, Adeline. A dark edge creeps into his tone, and I can't let go of the fear, even as I work up the nerve to deny him. Images of him holding a gun to my face and pinning my tied-up body to the bed as he took what he wanted flashed through my mind, fortifying the terror in my bones. Thank you, I choke out angrily. As soon as I say the word, ropes of cum are spurting from his dick and right into my mouth. A deep rumbling growl releases from his throat, traveling straight to my core. I clench my thighs as my taste buds are invaded with the flavor of his saltiness. Desperately, I want to spit it out right in his face. Fuck, that's a good girl, he breathes. In response, a tear slips from my eye. I shiver from the words just as my hatred for him burns brighter. When the last bit of cum drops from his tip and onto my lips, he grabs my face again, pinching my cheeks together and preventing me from spitting it all back on him like I'd planned to. Swallow, he demands, his voice dark and full of warning.
My first question, logistically, first he slapped her with his hand, then he slapped her with his dick, is that...
Yeah. Yeah.
What's weird to me is, like, I understand, I like a good enemies to lovers, I am down for a hate fuck. This doesn't feel like that either.
No, it doesn't. It's all about dominance. It's all about control.
So it feels like she's not having a good time. Like, there's a throw in of one mention of the growl, goes right to her core. But she's not hot. Like, this isn't making her hot. And that's the whole point, isn't it? Like, if you're having this kind of hate fuck, like, everyone is supposed to be enjoying the moment.
I don't think that's his point.
Okay.
When all is said and done, he turns to Adeline and says, you want to know the best part? I was going to tuck you into bed and leave you alone tonight, but you seem to forget that just because I am wholly yours, little mouse, I am not a nice man.
Cool. Great.
With that, we enter our hot plot spot.